Okay then, so before we actually start with ABAP programming, I would like to give you a very simplistic overview or an eagle eye picture of the background of how the ABAP have been evolving, what are the version. So there are a lot of jargons, there are a lot of information which you will find in internet, and it would be quite overwhelming to simplify or to put it in a simple single slide, which we have tried to do here, because there are so many development which have come into picture. As the ABAP initial release was done in 1983, you can imagine this is a very old language, and in the modern versions of ABAP you will see a lot of many syntaxes which have been completely removed, which previously developers were using, and it is currently having a lot of capability of the modern language. So before we actually go into the details, I would like to first address what is meant by ABAP. ABAP stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. So this is a programming language which was developed by SAP to build its software. Now, this was initially released in 1983. You can imagine, if you see the timeline here, it is approximately 40 years old language if you see the timeline. So it's matured completely, it's matured a lot over time, and it is still predominantly used in SAP systems to develop business applications. Now, when we talk about the term SAP, then you might have heard the term ECC. Now, in the legacy systems or the older system, ECC was the central component, and ECC stands for ERP Central Component. So SAP is a ERP software, Enterprise Resource Planning software, and internally or technically it was referred as ECC. Now inside ECC we have a component called NetWeaver. Now this NetWeaver is primarily built with ABAP programming language, and if you want to extend capabilities in your business, then you would be using ABAP programming language to add features or creating more functionalities or custom functionalities. So this is where the ABAP programming language is used. It is basically used to extend capability of existing ERP system. Now this was the classical scenario or the legacy scenario. Now the ABAP programming language is delivered to us by SAP, and as a developer we use this language to extend the capability of SAP for our customers or users who are using the SAP system. Now when you see the timeline of ABAP evolution, ABAP was first released in 1983, which was very old version of ABAP. Now there has been a lot of evolution in ABAP, and we would not like to talk about all of those because many of them have become obsolete now. But primarily if you see the timeline, then in 2006 we have the main release of ABAP 7, and in 2012 we got the release of ABAP 7.4. Now this is the time when we have seen major shift in the development within SAP when we talk about using ABAP with SAP. Now at this time, in the end of 2012 and the beginning of 2013, we got SAP HANA support for ABAP programming language, where developer can write ABAP code which can run in SAP HANA. Now SAP HANA is a in-memory database which was introduced by SAP to increase performance of the application or the ERP application. So in ABAP 7.4 you will find a lot and many new functionality which was primarily designed so that ABAP can support or ABAP can leverage or use SAP HANA capability. So this was a major shift, and this is also the time where ABAP developer have to learn many new syntaxes or new development functionalities. And for the business, this new functionality brought many new possibility for application which was previously not possible. Now, more about that we will see in the coming development or details. The more about the 7.4 functionalities we will see in the coming sections. Now, this was also the time when the developer were told to write code where the code pushdown was introduced or code pushdown was suggested. So you push the code to the database instead of bringing the data from the database layer to the code. So this part, code pushdown, was primarily suggested as a best practice or was the practice to be followed by the ABAP developer, which previously was the other way around. You have to bring data towards the ABAP program and then do your part and do your programming features. So we see a major shift here in November 2012 or early 2013 with the release of ABAP 7.4. Now, the next major shift happened with the release of S4 HANA. Now, S4 HANA here is the Business Suite 4, which runs only on HANA database, and it was released in November 2015. And with the release of S4 HANA, you also find a release of ABAP 7.50, which supports development with SAP S4 HANA. Now, over the time, you will find the development of the S4 HANA and the development of ABAP in a quite linear fashion. In 2016, we have 7.51, in 2017, 7.52, in 2019, 7.54, and in 2022, 7.55, and so on, and it's still going on. Okay, so this was simplified story of how ABAP 7.4 or why the ABAP 7.4 and why the ABAP 7.5 came into picture and when they came into picture. Okay, moving forward, I would like to cover one small aspect which you will be seeing a lot, and it is better to address it before we actually start moving forward. Now, this particular part is regarding how the software updates are released to the customer. So, for example, we have a software A, and this software version 1 got released in 2022, and there is a version 2 which got released in 2023. Now, for the version 1, for example, the A1 is bought by customer C1, and customer C2 got the A2, so this version in 2023. So the C1 purchased here in 2022 and the C2 purchased in 2023. Now, if the C1 also wants the new functionality which was released in 2023 with version 2, then SAP do provide the functionalities in terms of enhancement packs and support pack. So SAP can release a enhancement pack, EHP for short, to C1, and this C1 will then have new functionality which previously it didn't have. And also there is support package. Now, support packages also can be provided by SAP to C1 to update the capability of C1. Now, generally, the support packages contains the bug fixes. For example, if there are some errors or some mistakes which previously was delivered to the customer and it was found out while the development of version 2, then the support packages contain those bug fixes, and the enhancement package primarily contains new feature and functionalities. Okay, so this was basically what are the difference between a support packages and the enhancement packages. We will not go in details about what are the specific enhancement packages and what are the specific support packages for the version of ABAP, because that will be too much overwhelming and also will be outside the scope of a developer and will go into the scope of a basis person or a consultant who is setting up the system. Okay, so before we actually start towards the main programming, we would also like to address what would be the system setup which you and we will be having within this course. So we are using SAP BTP, which is previously was referred as SAP Cloud Platform. Now this BTP have ABAP share environment, and this share environment you can also enable with your free trial to SAP BTP. And this shared environment is connected to our Eclipse, and the Eclipse is having the ADT plugin, which is ABAP Development Toolkit plugins. And the Eclipse with ADT plugin is running in your local computer, and you will be connecting your Eclipse to the ABAP share environment. Now, if you want to see the details of how to perform this activity, which is not a very complicated activity, then we have covered the detailed step in our system setup for learning course, which can be provided for you for free if you're watching this course in UI5CN learning platform. Okay, also if you want to follow the on-premise or want to use the on-premise system and connect your Eclipse, that is also going to be okay. But make sure this on-premise system have the capability for 7.4x and 7.5x syntaxes of ABAP, which we will cover within this course. Okay then, so enough about the background and the theoretical parts. Let's start with ABAP programming and see some action.